Good evening and welcome to the Tuesday, June 17, 2025 regular business meeting of the Olympia City Council. For the record, we have a quorum with Mayor Pro Tem Nguyen excused as well as Councilmember Vanderpool excused tonight. So before we move on to adoption of the agenda, I'd like to call forward City Manager Bernie for an announcement.
Thank you, Mayor and Council members. For the record, Jay Burney, City Manager. I'm here tonight to both say hello to a new member of our executive team and to say goodbye to an amazing member of our team. So I'm going to start with hello. I want to welcome Mike Githens to the City of Olympia as our new Finance Director. Mike comes to us from the City of Shelton, where he was the Finance Director for the past 3 years. And on top of that, he has just a phenomenal, great background in municipal finance. And I am just thrilled to add him to our city team. So please welcome Mike Githens.
Thank you, Mayor and members of Council. It's truly an honor to have been chosen to be the City of Olympia's Finance Director. I'm joining a fabulous finance team. This is my 4th day on the job, and it's been a busy 4 days. We met with the Finance Committee last night. I feel like I know you all a little bit because over the past couple of months, I've been watching study sessions and council meetings, getting familiar with the City of Olympia's processes. So I look forward to working with you, partnering with city staff and the community, continuing the strong financial traditions that we have here, and working hard on the 2026 budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. Any comments from the dais? Councilmember Madrone.
Welcome to the City of Olympia. It sounds like you're the kind of guy who does your homework, which we appreciate. And not only did you already attend a Finance Committee meeting, you also already attended a council retreat. So welcome to the team. Thanks for being here. We certainly need your expertise as we work through our budget. So thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional comments? Just a hearty welcome. You come at a time where the budget is most critical. So we thank you in advance and welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
City Manager Bernie.
Thank you. And now a difficult goodbye for me and I think for all of us. At the end of this month, our Strategic Communications Director, Kelly Brossett, is retiring from the city after 10 years of service to me, to the council, and to the community. Kelly has brought such an amazing energy to her role and has been a trusted advisor to me these past 5 years. In particular, my first 2 years were some of the most challenging of my career. And when I needed to know how to best have a challenging conversation, Kelly taught me to lean into them and be my authentic self. And this advice has never let me down. Kelly has a gift that is the written word. Many times, all of us have been in that place of not knowing what or how to say something, and then Kelly pulls it together with eloquence and respect, and at times when we needed it, respectful defiance, which is a skill all of its own. Kelly, I'm going to miss your wonderful laugh, your friendship, and I just want to thank you because you have been there for me in so many different ways, and I will never forget it. Although this is hard for me, I am so excited for you and all the fun times that lies ahead in your retirement. So thank you for your service to this community. Kelly, we're eternally grateful.
Well, Mayor, council members, for the record, I'm Kelly Brossett, Strategic Communications Director. For the last time I get to say that. So I'm not going to cry because I have a rule: I don't cry at work. I go to my car, damn it. So I just want to, I have notes, but as I have a bad shelf life with my handwriting, so I can't read them anymore. I just want to say that I'm grateful for the opportunity to serve my community, to support. When I came to the city, the first thing I noticed is that the staff here were just such consummate professionals, public servants, but they were also like at the top of their game and at the top of the industry. You know, they're like the best in the state, the best in the region, the best in the country. And that's been true through the whole thing. The whole time I've been here, it's been such an honor to work and support and to help to tell their stories. It's been an honor to support your work and to do my part to make it more transparent to the city, because, you know, Olympia takes its democracy really seriously. That whole like for the people, by the people stuff, we're on it, and you guys take it seriously too. And you, the community brings you their trust, and you offer them your respect every week, every Tuesday. And so it's an honor to be part of that and to watch it. And working with Jay, you know, Jay's my guy. I'm gonna miss working with him. He's like, you know, that I think I said it in my letter to him, that stellar staff, you know, that constellation of stars. He's the brightest one. So, and it's been an honor to learn from him and to learn from you guys. And to lead my staff, these crazy creative people who have wild ideas that Jay lets us do, like start television channels and stuff like that. It's been an amazing ride. And, you know, one of the sort of, I guess if my family had a model, it's like we ride for the brand, right? And it's been glorious riding for this brand, and I want to thank you for it. Thanks.
Thank you, Kelly. Any comments from the dais? Councilmember Gilman.
I think our time in here just about coincided. Besides the communications work, I want to recognize that Kelly also brought systems thinking about how we did board and commission interviews, and worked with Susan to do a first round, and I know there's been a subsequent round of improving the process. But it was a huge thinking project and organizing a lot of people, and I've benefited from your work there. I'm really grateful. And the strategic communications plan, designing a department, was a huge lift. And I would just offer, John Chardy, the poet, always closed with good words to you.
Additional comments? Councilmember Green, followed by Councilmember Cooper.
Hey, Kelly. It's not lost on me that twice I've gone to the effort of working where you work, and twice you have departed. I won't read more into that than you tell me to. But truly, I have not gotten to work with you long here, but obviously we go back a long way, and I'm so happy for you on this journey. I've always looked to you as truly a consummate professional in our field, and you do your work in a way that your passion for it is clear, your enthusiasm is contagious, and our communications community will definitely be worse off for having one less Kelly in the mix. So congratulations, but we will miss you.
Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you for your gifts. You're a special treat to have worked with, and I look forward to seeing you around the community. I was thinking about when Jay was talking about the hardest 2 years of his career. I think it was the hardest 2 years of all of our careers. And there was just kind of that consummate leaning in to tell us the right story to the community. And whether it was our housing work or our policing work or our racial work, you've been right there in the middle of it. And in particular, setting up the 4 webinars or 3 webinars with the webinars with Black leaders after George Floyd's murder was a special gift to this city that you didn't have to bring, and you did. And I'll be eternally grateful for you for that, because it was probably the hardest spot for any person to be working in that moment in time in the city government, and you just nailed it. So thank you. Look forward to seeing you around.
Councilmember Madrone.
Kelly, I know we're still going to see you around a little bit, huh? What Councilmember Cooper just brought up was something that I wanted to mention as well. The virtual panels that you brought together at a time when people needed to see positive contributions to the community, real talk, Black excellence. I remember you talking about all of those things. And also the Rebecca Howard Park, your idea to, dedicate a peace park for the city of Olympia. We're about to speak to that in this proclamation. And so there's so many gifts that you've brought that, weren't in your job description. Maybe other duties as assigned, who knows, But yeah, definitely during a really, really difficult time for everybody, you found ways to bring forward light and ways to move forward, and I really appreciate that.
Kelly. I'm gonna miss you around here. I'm just gonna keep it real for a moment, because when I first arrived here, there was nobody else that looked like me. And I saw you, and I kind of relaxed my shoulders a little bit. I said, okay, there's one more. And I knew what would come with that would mean that there would be a certain kind of understanding that we exchange between each other without saying a word. And I know you know what I'm talking about. I'm telling our secrets, by the way, right now. What you've brought over the course of the time during your tenure here has been to give this community a more open and transparent government. That's what you've done. Through all the way through, your strategic communications plan development, to creating the channel, to creating the app that we have. You and your team have done so much to try to expand access to the community. And I'm grateful to you for that and to your team. Again, as was mentioned, yeah, you did, I believe you had it inspired by the Anne Frank Park, if I remember that story correctly, to have a park of peace and healing here in Olympia dedicated to Rebecca Howard, and to have a space not based in trauma, but of healing around race relations. And that's an incredible vision to have. And now it's coming to fruition, and in part that's thanks to you, and you are behind the scenes, and so you don't always get that credit, but we're saying it now. And I hope you know how much you're appreciated. I also want to give you another shout out because you can figure out tech stuff under pressure, like in this chamber, when there's like a lot of people watching you, and you figure it out. And that's a skill that, yeah, I mean, you kind of just have to do it, but not everybody can. And besides the professional stuff, you have a heart. And yeah, I'm gonna miss you. And I'll say more later. But for now, we'll move on. Thanks, Kelly. All right, so with that, I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
All those in favor of the agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We have an agenda. So our first item tonight is item 2A, which is a special recognition proclamation recognizing Juneteenth. And we have a shared reading of the proclamation beginning with Councilmember Cooper.
Whereas on January 1st, 1863, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation declaring that enslaved Americans in Confederate territory were free, paving the way for the passage of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States. And whereas word of the Emancipation Proclamation was delayed by over 2 years until June 19, 1865, when U.S. Army troops arrived in Galveston, Texas to enforce General Order Number 3, informing residents that all enslaved people were now free. And
Whereas June 19th, known as Juneteenth, has been celebrated by the Black community for more than 150 years as Emancipation Day, Freedom Day, and a symbol of liberation and resilience. And whereas Juneteenth celebrations have spread from the South and are now observed in states throughout the country, and whereas in 2007, Washington State officially declared Juneteenth as a recognized holiday, and in 2021, it was established as an official state holiday, and
Whereas Black community members, including cultural groups, local churches, youth groups, and civil rights organizations, have been observing Juneteenth celebrations in Thurston County for over 40 years. And whereas in June 2021, the Women of Color in Leadership Movement and Media Island International, in partnership with the City of Olympia, hosted the first Olympia Juneteenth celebration at Rebecca Howard Park, marking a significant step in honoring Black history and culture in our community. And
Whereas Rebecca Howard Park, named after Olympia's first Black businesswoman, Rebecca Howard, serves as a dedicated space to honor Black history and celebrate the future of Black presence, gathering, and belonging in our region. The park's development focuses on cultural placemaking, storytelling, and uplifting the resilience, contributions, and legacies of Black Olympians, past, present, and future. And whereas Rebecca Howard, a successful entrepreneur in the 19th century, owned and operated the Pacific House, a legendary hotel and restaurant in Olympia. Despite the exclusionary laws at the time, she built a thriving business and became a prominent community figure, revered for her hospitality, humor, and no-nonsense demeanor. And whereas the City of Olympia is honored to sponsor the Women of Color in Leadership Movement and Media Island International, in hosting the Community Juneteenth Celebration Festival at Rebecca Howard Park on June 21st, 2025, featuring performances, presentations, and the marketplace, showcasing Black-owned businesses, and
now therefore be it resolved that the Olympia City Council does hereby proclaim June 19th, 2025 as Juneteenth in the city of Olympia, Washington, and urges all residents to join in celebration of the significant moment in American history and its role in the heritage of our nation and city. Signed in the city of Olympia, Washington, the 17th day of June, 2025, Olympia City Council, Dante Payne, Mayor. Okay, so now I'd like to call forward Shauna Hawk, the Executive Director and founder of the Women of Color in Leadership Movement. Hi, Shauna.
Hello, 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 everybody. This is kind of every time I come up here, it's an emotional, and it's really, really good to hear the words that you just spoke and to really solidify the happenings that's happening right now. And I feel moved to say an extra thank you to Kelly, definitely for sharing the vision of making the park, the Rebecca Howard Park, and the vision of honoring our resilience and peace and our healing, but also education and just overall just good things. So thank you so much for that support and shared vision. And I really do hope that you're going to be attainable in the community, especially around the genealogical research piece that we're hoping to implement as a part of the educational piece in the park. So I wanted to say you had mentioned about the marketplace, and I wanted to really emphasize the importance of that. It's just not a vending space, it's just not a market, but it symbolizes in many parts of the country the slaves would have one day off And it usually would be a Sunday, and that would be a time where they could share their goods, they could gather, they could socialize and feel free. And so the symbology of us having the marketplace is to honor that and to really understand that that's a gathering and good times for Black folks, and to share with community, and community come out and spend money and participate and definitely support. So I wanted to really emphasize that as far as the Black community. And then also, you know, the Juneteenth event and having it at the park is really symbolic as far as helping the city continue to move forward in keeping the promise of, you know, that park. And when it was started in 2020, 2021, when Sandra Bland, Breonna Taylor, Trayvon Martin, and many others, just the culmination of these lives that were sacrificed, these Black lives were sacrificed. And that's where the red and the blood, the sacrifice, and also the new life that comes forward, the Black for the skin, the green for the earth. We were always about the earth, sharecropping, and before then, farmers, caring about our environment, not needing to be told, hey, you need to care for the environment. We're a part of the environment. So we always had that. And I really feel like, yeah, I have notes too, but they're going over the place. I really feel like with this is also a catalyst for not only supporting the park and its development, but also moving forward so we can move past having conversations and studies on reparations, but we could actually start cutting checks. And like many other community members, Asian community, the Native community, and so we can move forward to that, and this helps that. I'm really, really on board and really hoping that that will be able to happen here in 2025. I want to say thank you to Jay Burney for helping supporting that vision, especially around the park and especially around Juneteenth and getting it started. I see the beautiful flags up and down, you know, red, black, and green up and down the street and on top of the City Hall. So thank you for that representation. I really appreciate it. And that's, hold on, make sure. Yeah.
You want to plug the event one more time?
June 21st from 1 to 5. And come out, and even if we may have rain, we have tents. It rained on us a couple years before, so we're in Washington. We know that's a beautiful cleansing that can happen. So, but yeah, please come on out, support, share the word, and thank you. Thank you all again.
Any comments from the dais? Councilmember Madrone.
I really appreciate you speaking to the flag in particular, because we've put it up for a few years in a row now to celebrate Juneteenth, and every year we get questions about it, and, you know, what is this flag? What does it mean? And so I really appreciate you sharing what that means for you, and what the colors mean, and hopefully that's something that we can help educate the community about, like why this particular flag is important and why we display it at this time of year. But thank you so much for your partnership, your collaboration, for your presence in the community. Really appreciate you.
Thank you.
Any additional comments? Is this our fourth year, fifth year? Fifth year. That fast.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
So, okay, number 5. Thank you, first of all, to you specifically for your leadership. Again, 5th year in a row that we're going to have an event sponsored here in partnership with the city, so we appreciate that, and everybody who assists you. Juneteenth is something that is just, people are still trying to figure out how do you mark the day? How are you supposed to celebrate it? Because it's like, oh, it's about the end of slavery, and that sounds bad. And is it a somber day? Is it a day of celebration? I would say it's a day of celebration, and it's a time of remembrance. A lot of people don't know that, you know, in Black culture, ancestor veneration or remembering our ancestors is something that's very important to us. And so that's why you have the Sankofa as an example of the bird, as an example of its feet or pause moving forward and looking back, honoring the past and moving forward. And that's something that our community just does incredibly well. Not just the Black community, but Olympia as a whole, I think is very symbolic of who we are as a community. But specifically to, Juneteenth and where we are now in the current climate is that this isn't about just slavery ending. This is about everything that has happened since that time. We released 4 million people and gave them nothing, right? And so when you talk about reparations, we're having this conversation as a city about, well, how does that lead to all of the disparities and issues we see today in our Black community, specifically with our Black residents in the city of Olympia? And this is a time to call attention to those issues. At the same time, we celebrate what's good about us. We are more than the legacy of slavery. We had a culture, we had many, many cultures in Africa long before we were stolen from our land and brought here. And there's a resurgence or a renewal and a desire of wanting to get back to that. And I think you are somebody that it's very obvious to me in the space that you are that you've done year after year is that you are calling us back to who we really are. And it's very clear to me every time I walk through the marketplace. And so I hope you notice those little nuggets of traditional African culture and spirituality as you navigate the space in celebration of Juneteenth this year. So thank you again. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And I'll present you with the proclamation, and we could take a photo. So if you would like, you can come up and join us for the picture. Okay. Thank you all very much, and we'll see you this weekend at the Juneteenth celebration. All right, so that concludes our special recognition portion of our agenda tonight. So we're going to move on to public comment. We do have a few people signed up for public comment in advance, both in person and online. Before I begin, I just want to double check. We had a couple sign-up sheets out front. for people who may have signed onto the public hearing list when you meant to sign up for public comment. So I just want to double check the names for the folks that are on the public hearing list. I have a Beth Henriquez. Did you mean to be on public hearing? Okay. Public hearing, not public comment. Okay. It's very easy to get confused, so I'm not calling anybody out. Okay, public hearing, not public comment. And then we have Sophie Landis? Public hearing, not public comment, okay. All right, so then we have a few folks signed up for the public hearing. So we'll begin, looks like then we have all of our public comment remotely tonight. So just a few housekeeping rules before we get started. There is a clock to my right, your left on the wall here. Well, I guess they can't see that if they're all remote. But you have 2 minutes of time for your comments. If you do not finish your comments in the 2 minutes allotted, feel free to email your comments to the council. And you will hear a bell ring at 30 seconds in, and that means that you have 30 seconds remaining in your comments. Please refrain from expressing your support or opposition to a candidate or ballot measure at the state or at the municipal or federal levels of government. And with that, we'll start with Maria Ruth.
Maria is traveling.
Good evening. Hi, Maria.
Hi, good evening, Mayor Payne and members of the Olympia City Council. My name is Maria Ruth, and I'm just would like to briefly thank the members of the present and past Olympia City Councils for their decision to remove the Log Cabin Road from their comprehensive plan in 2021. And this is an issue personal to me because the road goes through a beloved park in our community, the LBA Woods Park and Woods. And specifically, I'd like to thank Council members Danny Madrone and Robert Vanderpool for their continued advocacy to have this road removed from the Thurston Regional Planning Council document, the Regional Transportation Plan. It's much better as a study rather than an active project sponsored by the City of Olympia. It makes no sense for a plan removed or a study, for a project that is not sponsored by the city to be in the active plan. Much better to have it be in the study where it belongs. I'm hoping that future discussions of this road can be fruitful and robust as they were with the TRPC. There are meetings upcoming with the Transportation Policy Board that I would really like to see more equal discussion and also continued support from the Olympia City Council members on this. The LBA Woods has become a park of regional significance recently. Since 2021, since 2017, since the park was established, the popularity of it has also just increased exponentially. And now we have a truly regionally significant park for our community. So I'm trusting that the Olympia Street Connectivity Study, which is in the Regional Transportation Plan, will suffice as a placeholder. And I'm confident the decision made by the City Council and the TRPC to remove the road will be the best one. Let the study determine the best outcome for our traffic issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Okay, next we have Victoria Wartberg.
Victoria is not signed into the queue.
Okay, I'll come back after we move through the list and see if she's joined. Next is Camille Copeland? Or
Camille's
Coughlin?
is traveling.
Okay. And please forgive me if I've mispronounced your name.
You did great. Okay. Hello, Mayor Payne and City Council members. I'm here to echo mostly what Maria just mentioned. I live near LBA Park and Woods. I am there every day. I'm making this comment to support the guidance of Thurston Regional Planning Council to remove the log cabin road connection from the Regional Transportation Plan. The Transportation Policy Board should honor the guidance of the Thurston Regional Planning Council and respect the transportation goals and planning process of the City of Olympia. And that's all I have. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have David Dickinson.
David is traveling.
Okay, thank you.
He is in the panelist. His camera and microphone are off.
Ah, I see. Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Hi, good evening to the council, and thank you for letting us have a few minutes to speak to this issue. I am following on with the comments that Maria started and that Camille followed up as well. My name is David Dickinson. I live here in Olympia, also near the LBA Park and Woods, which I take advantage of on a regular basis, usually with my dog, walking through the woods and seeing neighbors and their dogs in the woods. And it's an important part of our community. So I would support the guidance that's been already mentioned, the guidance of the TRPC to remove the log cabin connection road from the draft regional plan. It certainly is worthy of more study, and I think that the Transportation Policy Board should honor the guidance of the TRPC, respect the transportation goals and the planning process here in the city of Olympia. I want a special thanks to council members Madrone and Vanderpool, as Maria mentioned as well, for your continued advocacy and support for this process to make it really transparent and make it possible for those of us who are citizens of the city and also people who take advantage of this beautiful green space for our health and well-being and for the health and well-being of our neighborhood. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, and we have Patrick Sneed.
Patrick is traveling.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Patrick Sneed. I'm with the group, the Coalition Against Bigger Trucks. And many of you in Olympia may be getting emails from me this last couple weeks. The reason I'm reaching out is that there are some proposals right now in Washington, D.C., I should say, to get larger and heavier semi-trucks onto the roads. I've been in the Olympia area. I've been up I-5. I understand there's a lot of trucks on the roads. I understand you see a lot of trucks because of the port. And I just wanted to reach out today and make sure everyone is aware of these proposals. It would be taking the standard trucks that you see on the roads today, taking them from the current 80,000 pounds you see them at, moving up to 91,000 pounds, taking the doubles and the triples that are on the roads, not the triples in Washington, thankfully, and extending the doubles by 5 feet each. Obviously, we're going to have some pretty big trucks on the roads. Our group is out here. We work with local officials. We work with law enforcement to say, hey, does common sense say that we need bigger, heavier trucks on the roads? And that's why I'm just, making sure everybody knows about this. You guys are such a great council. You allow us to hop on these calls, do these public comments. Luckily, I've been able to speak with Councilmember Vanderpool. Great guy, not here tonight. But I've been, we've been able to discuss this issue a little bit, and I'll be following up with the council and some other leaders around town about this issue, and just wanted to hop on here and just talk about it a little bit. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm going to come back to Victoria Wartburg.
She still is not signed into the queue.
Okay. All right. Well, that concludes our public comment for this evening. Comments from the dais. Councilmember Madrone.
I just want to thank the folks who came to talk about the log cabin road connection. We had a chance during our informal dinner this evening, right before this meeting, to talk about that issue and make sure that our council is fully briefed and up to speed on, you know, what the issue is, what the conversation is, and, you know, I feel supported as the representative to the Thurston Regional Planning Council to continue to advocate that the regional transportation plan aligns with the planning documents that we have for the city of Olympia. So that will continue to be our position. And Patrick Sneed, I have gotten your emails. I apologize that I have not responded to you. We're very busy people, but you bring a very different kind of transportation issue in front of us this evening. And I appreciate you raising our awareness on decisions being made far away that could impact us here in Olympia. And you are correct. Councilmember Vanderpool is a great guy.
Additional comments from council? All right, seeing none. So we will move on to adoption of the consent calendar. But before we do, are there any requests for polls for comment or questions? All right. Seeing none, I need a motion to approve this evening's consent calendar.
Move approval.
All those in favor of adopting the consent calendar as published signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Consent calendar is adopted. All right, so that takes us to item 5A on our agenda, which is a public hearing on program year 2025 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. And we have Anastasia Everett, who is our Senior Housing Program Specialist, presenting this evening. Hi, Anastasia.
Hello, good evening. Can you all hear me? Okay, thank you. For the record, I'm Anastasia Everett. I am with Community Planning and Economic Development, and thank you for the opportunity to share the public hearing with you this evening on the program year 2025 CDBG Annual Action Plan. The Community Development Block Grant, or CDBG program, is a federal grant funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Olympia is an entitlement community. We receive an annual formula award of CDBG funds. Funds must support activities which are eligible and meet a national objective. These are examples of eligible activities. Activities can be carried out by the grantee or through subrecipients. Subrecipients are eligible nonprofit organizations. While the program is flexible and can support a variety of activities, activities selected each year must align with priorities identified in the consolidated planning process every 5 years. Each eligible activity must also meet a national objective. The primary objectives are a benefit to low and moderate income persons, slum blight removal, and urgent need. The City of Olympia has a 3-year certification period, so over 3 program years, at least 70% of our CDBG funding must be used to meet the low moderate income national objective. I am presenting this evening as a part of our public participation plan. The city is required by HUD regulations to hold 2 public hearings annually for the CDBG program. Every spring, staff prepare an annual action plan with proposed activities and goals, which is then made available for public comment during a 30-day public comment period. The city's program year starts September 1st and ends the following year on August 31st. Staff presented project recommendations to the Community Livability and Public Safety Committee at the May 28th meeting. The committee approved the recommendations and forwarded them to City Council this evening for the public hearing. The following projects have been selected for funding and incorporated into the draft annual action plan. The program year 2025 allocation is slightly lower than the previous years, and the city's allocation is $341,000. Rebuilding Together Thurston County is included for a $60,000 award to rehabilitate between 5 and 8 homes during the program year. South Puget Sound Habitat for Humanity is included for a $40,000 award to rehabilitate between 3 and 5 homes. Both Rebuilding Together Thurston County and South Puget Sound Habitat for Humanity serve low to moderate income homeowners within the city of Olympia and provide critical home repair for the preservation of the city's existing affordable housing. CDBG funding is also proposed for the Energize Thurston activity carried out by South Puget Sound Habitat for Humanity. Funding is expected to install between 4 and 6 heat pumps for low and moderate income homeowners. CDBG funding will support the installation of a security fence at the permanent supportive housing Sandy's Flats. Residents of this housing complex are individuals who have recently experienced significant episodes of homelessness with co-occurring disabilities. The fence will restrict access to the property from the alley, preventing burglaries, unsafe access, and property damage to the 3 abutting buildings. Sandy's Flats has 26 units. Funding will support Enterprise for Equity's micro-business development program. Enterprise for Equity is intending to provide specialized training for over 40 low and moderate income local entrepreneurs. Public service funding will support the services available at the Daytime Resource Center, Sergio's, operated by Interfaith Works. The Resource Center connects people with hygiene services and vital social services such as medical and mental health care. Over 1,000 individuals are expected to be served with CDBG funding during program year 2025. Together's program, Host Homes, will support safe housing for unaccompanied youth in Olympia. This program aims to support youth not connected to the foster care system nor under state supervision, mainly young people who have aged out of child welfare intervention. Together anticipates serving between 28 and 36 youth with the recommended program year 25 award. Public service funding will support Mercy Housing Northwest's activity resident services at Evergreen Vista. The CDBG funding will support Mercy Housing Northwest with the capacity to expand its on-site food pantry services, mental health services, and other critical programs. All residents of the multifamily apartment complex are low and moderate income, restricted to below 60% of area median income. Mercy Housing Northwest anticipates 291 residents reached with the CDBG funding during the program year. And the final public service activity funding is for senior services for South Sound, and that is for the public service activity to support the Home Share program. This program is a matchmaking service where home providers who have an extra room in their home are matched with home seekers needing affordable housing. Participants in the Home Share program pay an average rent of only $636 monthly. Senior Services for South Sound anticipate 50 seniors will receive assistance in program year 25 with support from the program. There's a 20% administrative cap on the CDBG program, which is included in the annual action plan to support the costs of administering the CDBG program. And contingency projects are identified during the annual action plan process to reduce the administrative burden of preparing substantial amendments to the consolidated plan, which require a 30-day public comment period and a public hearing. In the event of a canceled project or receipt of program income, that funding is routed to projects identified in the annual action plan as contingencies. The staff recommendation is to award program income to subrecipients South Puget Sound Habitat for Humanity's Critical Home Repair and Energize Thurston programs, as well as Rebuilding Together Thurston County's Critical Home Repair program, to be determined based on the program year 25 subrecipient spend down of funds and documentation of need. These projects have been identified as contingency projects in prior program years, with both subrecipients having the capacity and expertise to utilize the funds compliantly and efficiently. The creation and preservation of existing affordable housing is the #1 priority goal identified in our region's consolidated plan. Staff recommend the majority of our available program funding to go towards that goal. Additionally, all recommendations for public service activities are housing related. Staff are also moving forward existing funding in the revolving loan fund to program year 2025. Funding is used for rental rehabilitation projects where properties are rented to low-income tenants and property owners charge affordable rents with a deed restrictive covenant. Approximately $215,000 is available in the revolving loan fund for projects, and staff are currently working with the property owner on rehabilitating their 12-unit multifamily property with affordable rents. We will now move forward to timeline and next steps for the annual action plan. This evening is the public hearing for the program year 2025 annual action plan. There's a 30-day public comment period open from May 30th to June 30th, 2025. Consideration of the annual action plan is set for the July 8th City Council meeting. Following submission of the plan to HUD, both the Seattle Field Office and HUD headquarters will review the annual action plan in August. Should the plan be accepted, the program year is set to begin September 1st. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Anastasia. Any questions from the dais? All right, seeing none. Getting off easy. All right, so we do have a few people who are signed up to testify in this public hearing. At this time, I am going to open the public hearing on the program year 2025 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. So I am going to call forward Beth Enriquez for testifying, and you have 3 minutes for your comments under a public hearing.
Just enough to string myself up in a knot. My name is Beth Enriquez, Mayor, City Council members. Thank you for your service and leadership. It was really, I picked the right night to be here. That was an incredible opening tonight, an opportunity to learn more and to be part of the celebration and just witnessing. So thank you, Anastasia, incredible city staff person. She's a pleasure to work with. So I'm the executive director of a local nonprofit, Enterprise for Equity. I have worked there for 18 years. In the last year and a half, have had the great privilege to be at the helm of that wonderful agency. So most of you, I hope, know who we are. We have a mission to provide business training, technical assistance, and credit to low to moderate income emerging and existing entrepreneurs. And if you haven't heard of us or don't know much about us, that's okay, except for that the City of Olympia has funded us through the CDBG program since, I don't know, 2008, I think, 2007, almost every single year. And that money has been put to such incredible use, because if you drive anywhere around this city, you see the entrepreneurs whose businesses we have helped start. So just a little bit of a tour. If you are up on the east side and you're coming down East Side Farm and Garden, that's an enterprise. These are all Enterprise for Equity graduates. New Day Midwifery, Heart of the Deer Corn, Rosarium, half the vendors at the farmer's market. What? Oh, I'm not even there yet. Yeah, Nineveh, Sophie's Scoops, Wayside Cafe, so many muralists, so many artists. And then you start heading up to the east side. What if you jump over to Friendly Grove area, there's Oli Kraut's production is up there. Graduate business owners are in both the co-ops and other grocery stores. You head up to the west side, elder care counseling and guidance services, Orca Pediatrics, Stonefire Wood Creek Pizza, something or other, and then you're on your way up to, out of town Highway 8. So we literally are behind the scenes of the face of these businesses that you have helped fund us to help start. One really cool thing I want to mention is that we have been doing surveys this year of our graduates from all the years to look at business success outcomes. And what we have discovered is that we are beating the national average by huge percentage points, and that underscore that understanding that these are low to moderate income entrepreneurs. You should be proud. I'm super proud, and you're going to hear from an entrepreneur, so thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Sophie Landis.
Okay, I planned for 1 minute, so. But I'll take the 3. I'm just kidding. So I'm Sophie Landis. I am a graduate from Enterprise for Equity. I'm definitely here to, speak about how amazing they are and how they should get all the money for everything they want to do. I graduated in 2016, and I was a low-income person for sure. I set out to build my business to employ me, my partner, and other people, and we did do that. In the last 9 years, we have not only, we've employed ourselves, we were able to buy a home, we were able to employ dozens of our community's teenagers, giving them their first job. And we have continued to also encourage tourism to Olympia. Also, I just want to shout out myself real quick. Edible Seattle did a whole thing about how amazing Sophie Scoops is and Olympia is, so, you know. But all of that to say is our foundation definitely started at Enterprise for Equity, and it is not just a normal business planning program. I did do many, and just the culture of it, the support, the ongoing support is, you can't even describe it. You have to be part of it. The fact that it's free right now for people is even more amazing. I send any business person who's interested that way, and I have seen many of their businesses come to fruition as well. Other than that, give them all your money.
Thank you, Sophie. Okay, and we have Brian Windrop.
Good evening, Mayor Payne and Olympia Council. I would like to also start thanking you for your public service. That feels especially important these days, so genuinely thank you. I'm here on behalf of the Home Share program, which is run by my organization, Senior Services for South Sound. I am the executive director of Senior Services for South Sound, and you don't have the good fortune of having the program manager for our Home Share program here with you tonight, because she recently had a baby and is home with her child, so you have me instead. We are delighted that the Home Share program continues to receive support from the City of Olympia and from CDBG. I read tonight that the CDBG program was established in 1974. I didn't have any reason to know that before, during the Ford administration, with strong bipartisan support in Congress, which is hard to imagine these days. And it was done to actually take away from the federal government the sort of micromanagement of local issues. And it has been doing that since 1974. I hope that continues. So our Home Share program, as you are all aware, in the ecosystem of housing services is unique. It remains unique in being a program that uses existing housing stock and not having to build new. And so for that reason, really, that alone, it's incredibly cost effective. The amount of money per placement is just low by the fact that we're not having to do bricks and mortar with it. It is a program that has existed now for a number of years. And in fact, when I started at Senior Services 5 years ago, it had been a pilot program. The city of Lacey actually, I can say that here, prompted us to start it again, and then it has received support more broadly since then. So it's been about 4 years that it's been going again. We have 25 active placements now. That means there's at least 50 people who are in housing. As you heard Anastasia say, that the average rent is now up to just about $600. It had been about $500, so even Home Share experiences the inflation of the time. And you all know that $600 for a room in a house is still by far the cheapest housing you can get in our community. We like to lean into the fact that Home Share is not just a housing program, it is a program that helps address our nationwide challenges with isolation and loneliness, because it's usually seniors who have the room in their house, who are struggling to pay property taxes and live on a fixed income, and they are in need of companionship as much as the extra income in their homes. So there's much more I could say about it, but the bell has rung, and I want to thank you for the city's continued support for the Home Share program. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Okay. And
any questions? Do I stay for that?
no, there's typically not a back and forth. It's just your opportunity to testify. Thank you. Okay, so that concludes the comments in person. We have one person online for the public hearing, and that is Vanessa Hurst.
Vanessa's traveling.
Hello.
Vanessa, can you hear us?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, and we can hear you.
Great. All right. Well, I don't see the timer, so I will do my best to stay under 3 minutes according to my clock here. But thank you so much for having me, Council, and allowing me to speak today and join you via Zoom. It was a little bit of a crazy day, but I just wanted to introduce myself. I am Vanessa Hurst. I'm the Program Director for Host Homes at Together, who Anastasia spoke briefly about. I know that some of you may have reviewed these applications. So just to give you a bit of history, Host Homes is a national model that started in Minneapolis. We have to be registered with the state of Washington, and it has to be a nonprofit in each county that is running the program. So for Thurston County, that is us Together. And I'm very proud to say that over the past 4 years, and especially the last year and a half, our program here in Thurston County, encompassing the big 3 school districts, Olympia, North Thurston, and Tumwater, has become the most robust and functional host homes program in the state of Washington. In fact, with some of our bigger funders, with Department of Commerce and OHY, we are actually looked upon to train other counties now in running our program. And Olympia fits into that beautifully because, again, as being one of the big 3 homes of the school districts, Olympia School District just joined us with an MOU and a contract about a year ago. So we've had 1 full school year working in partnership with the Olympia School District. And we have 4 youth attending Olympia School District this year, 3 more incoming. And the ones that are seniors this year are going on to graduate. So the host homes model puts unaccompanied youth, so not in the care of their parent or guardian, but also not under state supervision. So these are commonly 16, 17, and 18-year-olds, juniors and seniors in high school. They're at a very critical time that due to housing instability, they're often on track. Their graduation rates drop considerably, and our program helps them graduate and go on to either higher education, military service, or enter the employment workforce. I'm proud to say that this year, all of our graduates are attending 2 to 4 year colleges or joining the military. And both Olympia and Capitol High School graduates are going on to 2 and 4 year colleges. So our program model works. It works because of our very intensive wraparound mentorship case management style. This was kind of something that the program struggled with in the beginning. It is a very difficult program to implement. And that is because our host families are community members and they're essentially volunteering their time in their homes. We don't have the type of funding that foster care has, where somebody's receiving several $1000s of a month to host a young person. The most we can give is a couple $100s, and this funding helps us do that. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so that concludes our testimony for the public hearing. So it's our standard practice that even if you didn't have an opportunity to sign up in advance, we open it up to those who are present in the chambers. If you wish to testify on this item, now is your time to come forward if you wish to do so. Going once, going twice. Okay, at this time, I'm going to close the public hearing on the program year 2025 Community Development Block Grant Annual Action Plan. Okay, yes, Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. I just thought I'd take this opportunity, since our housing staff is here, to see if they might, I'm trying to make sure that they hear me, if they might give us an update on what is the outcome of CDBG and the current Big Beautiful Bill Act, so that our community will know whether they should be advocating for a bill that, according to the New York Times today, adds $3.4 trillion to our national debt and is bad for seniors and children. But I don't know if there's any federal updates that you might give us or not. Sorry to put you on the spot, Anastasia.
No, I should have been prepared for this. I'm actually not prepared for this. I didn't check with the Senate version of the Big Beautiful Bill, but I can follow back up with all of you. And if either of the housing staff here have an update, then I'm happy to share that, but very sorry, I did not bring that.
Thank you. I think it's just really important that we track, because one of the things that I've heard is that it moves all of the housing voucher program into block grants. So what does that mean in a block grant program that doesn't have HUD there to administer it?
Gosh,
I'd love, if you know the answer, tell us on your crystal ball someday. But
yeah,
any
I don't know
updates would
what
be
it's
great.
going to look like. I know that HUD is also kind of suffering a lot of staffing cuts as well, so there's not going to be a lot of capacity for the programs that are left, unfortunately. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. I look forward to hearing the answer at a later date. Thank you, Anastasia. Okay, so that takes us to our business items for the evening. Our first one is item 6A, which is the consideration of the Hands-On Children's Museum funding strategy recommendation. And to kick us off, we'll turn it over to City Manager Bernie.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Again, for the record, Jay Burney, City Manager. I'm here tonight for council approval of the funding strategy and bond sale for the expansion of the Hands-On Children's Museum. I am joined this evening by the Chief Executive Officer of the Hands-On Children's Museum, Patty Belmonte, and it looks like a host of her board members and supporters as well. The funding strategy and bond sale proposal that I'm presenting tonight was presented to the Finance Committee at their May 19th meeting, and it received their unanimous approval. I'm going to provide some background on the PFD funding and that funds the extension of the museum space as well as the proposed expansion. And then Patty will provide an overview of the expansion plans, and I will summarize the funding strategy and bond proposal. And I should mention that Patty and I are happy to take questions all along the way. So just in terms of project background, so the original Public Facilities District was formed in 2003, and the Public Facilities District, the way the state law allows it, it's a 0.033% diversion of state sales tax that funds Public Facilities District projects. And in 2003, there's a lot of history here, but I'm going to shortcut it through a lot of conversation in Thurston County and the community at large amongst the cities. The Hands-On Children's Museum in its current form and fashion and the Regional Athletic Complex in Lacey were chosen as the projects to be funded by Public Facilities District funding. I should also mention, because I think I get this question from time to time, the council does as well, that Public Facilities District funding can only be used for very specific purposes. In this case, the funding of the Hands-On Children's Museum and the Regional Athletic Complex. It cannot be used for any other municipal purpose. So I want to make sure that's clear up front. The original PFD had a 25-year time frame from 2003 to 2028. Again, it funded the first phase of the museum, which opened in 2012. The mix of kind of a PFD and private fundraising was part of that debt service. There was $9 million in PFD revenues, which is paid in debt service on phase one, and there was also $9 million in private fundraising, with PFD revenues, again, scheduled to go through 2028, and we have a bond repayment that's through 2029. However, we've had a couple of extensions of PFD funding. In 2017, the PFD was extended an additional 15 years out to 2043. And in this current 2025 legislative session, it was extended another 15 years out to 2058. The second extension is really important because it really provides this opportunity that you're going to see tonight for a 30-year bonding period, which really makes this project pencil for the museum and their fundraising efforts, and to fit within the PFD revenues that we will receive. So that's just the real quick background around PFD, and I'm going to turn it over to Patty to kind of walk you through museum and expansion, but any questions for me on how we got here and the funding mix? All right, I'm going to turn it over to Patty.
Hi, Patty.
Good evening, council members and Mayor Payne. I'm delighted to be here tonight to share with you a little bit more of some of what was shared with the Finance Committee on the plans for the museum expansion. So this expansion builds on our strengths. It's impossible for me to believe that we've already spent 13 years in our new home on East Bay, which we still call our new museum. We have in that time strengthened our reputation as a destination museum with both national and international visitors. We are expecting to serve about 315,000 visitors this year. And as I've shared with you for many years, that's more visitors for the size of our museum than any of the nation's 470 children's museums. which means we're packing a lot of people in a small space. Part of the reason that we have such significant visitation is our commitment to access. So of those 300,000 plus visitors, about 130,000 come in on one of 30 access programs. We're also a good museum. It's a quality museum. We're a consistent Best of Award winner, so we attract a lot of attention. One of the wonderful things about this Public Facilities District project is that we are enriching the quality of life in Olympia for our residents, but we're also bringing visitors to the downtown and bringing out-of-town visitors. And in this next slide, one of my favorite quotes in the last few months is from a family from Paris. Early learning play at its best, such a wonderful experience. The exhibits are well thought out and stunning. We went 3 times during our visit. But you'll see on this page there are quotes from EBT families and also from schools. We're now serving a 6-county region for field trips. So we're big on doing our homework, and we have been tracking our growth over many years. You can see on this slide from when I started in 1996, serving 15,000 people a year to our current day. But what we did here is track our expansion periods. And so in the green, you're looking at what happened to us. This helps us plan our business plan and how many people we might serve after we expand. You can see there that I'm planning, the project is due to be finished at the end of 2027 or early 2028, and we're projecting serving 375,000 people in that year. In terms of the Museum for All, we are a National Museum for All because of our access programs. Just the one EBT program, which is our largest access program, has grown steadily through 2023. And obviously, some of the pandemic relief programs helped feed that. We're now leveling out. However, our access over all programs continues to grow. So we think it's important that we be able to answer the question, what will growth solve for us? Why are we doing this? What unique opportunities exist? And frankly, we just are too overcrowded. That's an important piece of it. People tell us constantly that on our special days, it can impact the visitor experience. We track our total number of days over 800 and our total number of days over 1,100, which has consistently grown. It's little things like not enough bathrooms and causing discomfort for little kids. We have inefficient space. We have to flip rooms a lot. We have to store things in off-site storage, and it makes it a little bit harder to run the organization. But more importantly, we have the availability of these time-sensitive funds. And as Jay just told you, they can't be used for anything else. So we really want to be able to take advantage of them. Before we made the decision to expand, we tried multiple space-saving opportunities. And you can see here that we are open 7 days a week. We extended our hours from 9 to 5. And then we have many evening events as well. So we've tried to push birthday parties and field trips, even field trips, into the evening and have been somewhat successful in that. But the reality is, doing all of the things that we've tried to do, we haven't been able to, it's helped space, what COVID did for us is help space people out a little bit better, but we haven't solved the overcrowding problem. And as you know, there is a lot lower tolerance for crowds in the post-pandemic years. So the other type of homework we did is take a look at other organizations like us. And what you can see here, if you look at the visitation, this is other museums around the country, children's museums, and the visitation ranges from 200 to, I think, 372. And we looked at how much square footage they had. And so that helped us gauge what we needed. You can see we're at 28,000 with more visitors. And then you look at the other amounts. Pittsburgh is a little bit of an outlier with their 80,000, but they have a city partnership as well. And then we also looked at other types of museums that you would recognize in our area. And it's not uncommon for children's museums like science centers to have higher visitation. I did put in the Museum of Flight to give you an idea, but many of a well-attended museum that has a lot more money than we do. And you can see that our visitation isn't that far off. We also continue to monitor Thurston County's growth rate and families moving in, especially into the North County. As part of the recent destination master planning process with the VCB, we looked at what are the, over 1,000 visitors were surveyed, at why are they coming into our area now? And you can see that up in the yellow quadrant, family fun and museums are up there. So then we said we need to right-size this museum. The initial feasibility study came out at 70,000 square feet, and we said, you know, let's go back and do our comparison. And we felt after we looked at that and we looked at budget size and knowing that we're a medium-sized community, we said 70,000 square feet is too much. And so we took a look at what's the minimum that we need to do. For sure, doubling our exhibit square footage. So we have 12,000 square feet of exhibit space, and we need to double that to 24. We also looked at various other spaces. Traveling exhibit space was something we wanted when we built this museum, and we were unable to do it at the time. We had to value engineer that out. It makes it especially interesting now because we've lost event space in the community, and we can use a traveling exhibit space to double as event space. So as we did our feasibility study, we approached the project as an entire campus, and what would we include in the campus? And so you can see that we need expanded parking. We've been leasing parking from the port across the street from us for several years now during our busiest times. We need areas for all those school buses that keep bringing kids from 6 counties. We are, I mentioned the traveling and event space, but we've been pioneering culinary programs for kids, and they've become so popular that we want to put a culinary school/program into the new facility. The nice thing about that, it's a great way to teach math and science, especially for a little bit older child. And you'll see on this list that we're really hoping to have a STEAM lab for the tweens. So the 9 to 12-year-olds who begin to age out of the museum, we keep getting a lot of requests to have programming for them. When we did the feasibility study, I was positive that we could just remodel and we could push out the building in various areas. But actually, no. That turned out to be not the most efficient way to expand the museum. It turned out that a separate building connected to the current museum would have less interruptions for operations and be less expensive to build. So a reminder of where the funds are coming from. We have that huge purple is our Public Facilities District funds that we can't use for anything else, so that's great. And then I'm pleased to report that our board set an ambitious goal of $1 million within the board, and we're close to $900,000 right now, with gifts still coming in, so we feel we'll meet that goal. We have been approved by various foundations that have worked with us in the past for over $1.5 million in grant requests, meaning we can apply to them. And we feel that $2 million in grants will be very achievable. We just learned yesterday that Senator Murray has put forward our federal request, and we're very excited about that. And grateful. And of course, it's a very long road, but it's an honor to be recognized in that way. We do have a 1.6 million grant from Building for the Arts, which is secured. And we will be going out to the community for about $3 million. So we are celebrating right now to say, what can we do with our project? We were approved for progressive design build this time, and that means that we give the design team an amount, a total project amount, and that's what we have to build to. And what that does for the city and for the museum is give us more certainty than a low bid project. So one of the most exciting things about this project is we're able to secure the 2 empty lots adjacent to the museum. And that locks up the future of the facility. I just want to stop for a minute and say to you that I so appreciate that we're having this conversation right now. Because if you think about your very favorite cultural institution that you've visited somewhere in the country, there was a group of people, board members, and their partners sitting around long before you visited it, thinking, we need to do this, and we need to make sure it lasts forever. And that's what we're really coming to you with this opportunity, with this increased PFD funds, is to lock up that land so that the next generation will have the opportunity to redevelop it, make it into the next big thing. But this is the important action we're taking now. And if we fall short for any reason of our own private side, which I don't believe we will, we can do what we did last time, which is phase the project. We opened with just the building done, and we phased the outdoor space, opening it in 2019. So as we think about this and we scale the project, we're for sure going to preserve the revenue-driving pieces of it so that we have a strong business plan, as we have had this entire time we've been on East Bay. And in summary, I think that because this project, I like to say it has no cost to the city. And Jay, wherever Jay is,
Right always right behind you.
He's probably going, ugh. Of course it does. Jay has been working with me hand in hand, honestly, since the start of East Bay and before that. And I so appreciate the work that the city has to put in to make this happen. But really, it's a wonderful asset that the city is able to take advantage of without putting significant amounts of its own money into the project. So that's what I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty.
All right, I'm going to jump into some details around the bond, but any questions for Patty before we get there?
Seeing none, just gratitude.
So I just want to start, as I get into the bond details, one of the things that, and I don't think I need to tell council, I think you know this already, one of the reasons that gives us a lot of great certainty around the success of this project is we have history with the museum. We built the first phase, as you saw, that was about a 50-50 with what the city needed to bring in PFD revenues and Patty's fundraising. The museum and their board have an established track record of fundraising and making projects happen. So I think I have personally no doubt that if we raise the funds through the bond to get them 75% of the way, they're going to bring the rest of it home. And as Patty said, there's a lot of flexibility in the out years to phase in exhibits and spaces over time. And so this is a really solid investment of our PFD revenues. So just in terms of the bond details, it's a $20.5 million bond sale. It's got a 30-year term. That $20.5 million does cover the property acquisition. We need to acquire property, as Patty mentioned, from the Port of Olympia. You're going to see that on an upcoming consent calendar in July. We need to get this piece approved by you first before we can bring you property acquisition. But that negotiation is well underway with the port. It's a $1.5 million payment, which PFD funds in most years will cover that PFD payment. We've been very conservative, and I should say up front, I want to give a lot of thanks to our bond counsel, both Deanna Gregory at Pacifica Law and Scott Bauer with Northwest Municipal Advisors, who've done a really good job of working with Patty's team and the city's teams to take a conservative approach to make sure we have a successful bond that can be repaid. So we're conservative in the first few years, and the revenues are only going to grow by about 2% in the first 4 years. That's probably pretty conservative. And then 4% over the remaining 26 years, and our average over the previous 15 years or so has been about 4.1%. So we think we're in pretty good in shape there in terms of our revenue growth for the PFD revenues. The other thing that you'll see in that very detailed spreadsheet that's attached to your staff report, if you go to the far right column, there's always a surplus in the Hands-On Children's Museum fund and account. The fund never drops below $360,000. And the reason that's important is because we still have ongoing maintenance obligations for the current building. And so we'll need to tap into that fund from time to time if we need to do repairs on the space. And so we keep a fund balance in there that allows our staff to do that work. I mentioned that in most years, the PFD receive will cover the bond payment. However, just to make sure, if it drops below, the museum does have to cover the balance. And so they've agreed to carry a $1.7 million security fund that they're set aside. So if at any point in time PFD revenues don't come in to cover the bond payment, we can look to the museum and they will cover the difference out of that security fund. So that is put in place as well. And then the other, I think, great thing about how this is established is at the end of the 30-year term, assuming no usage, which we know there will be some, but if we assume no usage, there'd be a $10 million fund balance in that fund, which really sets the city and the museum up 30 years from now to think about what else they might need in future expansion. There'll be some balance in that fund. So all in all, I guess the message I want to give to the council is this is, I believe, a very conservative bond package. It has my full support. It has the finance team's full support. It has our bond council's full support. And so I'm urging your support tonight. If you approve tonight, just a few next steps. Tonight is just saying yes. What needs to happen next is all the enabling ordinances that allow the bond sale to go forward. Those will come before you in early July through your legal team. It'll need approval by the Public Facilities District Board. We're planning to do that in August. We'll need to go to our rating agencies. This is just a process to get rating agency. That will happen in August. And then the goal is to have bond sale proceeds in September so that Patty can continue to move forward. I do want to mention, Patty mentioned the design build concept. That's the other process that we put in place here that gives us some certainty around cost. And I want to thank Mark Russell's team in Public Works who are partnering with Patty's team to deliver on the design build. I think this is our first big design build project in Public Works, so want to just give a shout out to the Public Works team for kind of experimenting in that direction. And I think Mark's actually excited about future possibilities of design build within Public Works. He's shaking his head at me. So with that, I'll turn it over to you. Again, this schedule that we have in front of you aligns with Patty's schedule for moving forward with design and construction. And I'm happy to take any questions from you or to move to action.
Thank you, Jay. Councilmember Gilman.
So Finance Committee spent some time in due diligence looking at this funding model, and I want to say that in the end, for us, it was not an accounting decision, but it was more a decision about an investment in our future. That just to be really clear, that the basic funding for this public facilities district is a diversion of the state part of sales tax. So it's money that we're able to grab off for local use from the state. So that first, and there's enough of that revenue forecast that it would cover both the bond payments and allow us to maintain a reserve for maintenance or bad times. And I was really excited, and I would say we certainly partnered on the waterfront building, but we also know that the track record goes back to 2 facilities before that the Hands-On Museum has consistently, from the building on State, the building up by the Capitol, and then moving to the waterfront, they've been successful in getting projects like this done. So that was great reassurance for us. So we're hoping that we will move forward, Olympia strong, bold, and unafraid.
Well said. Any additional questions or comments? Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. I'm really excited about this. My first event outside of a council meeting as a council member was the ribbon cutting at the new museum, and it seems like it wasn't that long ago, but it really has been a minute. And so it's really exciting to see this come forward. If you want to talk about an installation that represents the USS Olympia on the grounds of the expansion, the city has some parts to talk to you about. So we'd love to think about that kind of a partnership possibly. And then I just have one question because of the conversation we had in Finance Committee last night about as we approached a better design or a more complete design for a couple of other projects, that the price of everything is just going up. And so I wondered, is that kind of price inflation accommodated for in the numbers that we're seeing? Or will that be part of what eats into the 10 million, should that, in the event that it is more expensive than we think?
Yeah, we've tried to accommodate for that, and the great thing about design build is there's incentive for the contractor to find ways to save money in a design build process, because as they save and we can reduce project costs, there's benefit in them for their profit margins as well. So there's a lot of incentives built in there, and we feel pretty confident with the numbers that Patty's team has pulled together, her architect team's put together, that we can live within that 20.5 and get the building built.
Okay, well, I'm excited about the next phase of this project. I won't have the same address, so please invite me to the ribbon cutting.
Additional comments? I just want to say thank you. It's been a long time coming in the sense that I feel like it's been at least 2 or 3 years since I have been looped into this conversation. Yes, I know it's been longer, but to be here tonight is really great. And I want to say thank you specifically because the museum is an incredible draw to the community, as you just showed in the presentation. It is an economic driver. It's a place that provides so much sense of community right here in the heart of downtown. You just heard Councilmember Gilman allude to Olympia Strong, and the Hands-On Museum checks off so many aspects of our Olympia Strong economic opportunity plan for the city. And I thank you for continuing to think about how to expand and grow in terms of access and everything that you do to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to benefit from the museum. Is another reason why I think it's important for us to be supportive of this project, because we share values in that way. And I think it's so important for people to see that kind of partnership so that the children in our community have a place where they are not only being educated in the rigid traditional sense, but they're being educated through that tangible hands-on, hence the name experience, which is so important for a child's development. And ultimately what that leads to is children in our public schools and then off to college and so on. So you're in the long-term business of helping people succeed, and then hopefully they stay here in our community. And so that's how I see the museum. It's a starting point, and it's a great starting point to make sure that we keep the people capital in our community thriving. So thank you, and I'm happy to support this. And Councilmember Green has the motion.
I am. I'm going to make a motion, but I'm going to take a point of privilege as well.
Absolutely.
Councilmember Cooper, you were at the ribbon cutting. My older child learned to walk in the water tower. She graduated from 8th grade today. So these are moments we can catalog. But having said that, I would move to approve the Finance Committee and City Manager funding strategy recommendation and bond sale for the expansion of the Hands-On Children's Museum.
Nope, you did. Okay, hope you got that. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Congratulations. Thank you so much. All right, so that takes us to our next item on our agenda, which is item 6B, which is the acceptance of the utilities chapter of the Olympia 2045 Comprehensive Plan. And we have Susan Clark, our engineering and planning manager, and Ron Jones, program and planning supervisor, presenting this evening.
I apologize, I thought we were last.
Oh, did I get confused? Oh, I'm sorry, you are last. Okay. I confused myself. Okay. All right, and I thought I rehearsed this. Okay, so 6B is the acceptance of the goals and the policies for the Capital Facilities Plan, chapter of the Olympia 2045 Comprehensive Plan. Yes, we made some tweaks to the agenda, so sit tight.
That's all right, I missed that part too, but
Yes.
I'll just go when I'm called, right?
All right.
So for the record, my name is Tim Smith, Deputy Director for Community Planning and Economic Development. I'm here tonight to talk about our capital facilities plan, goals, and policies. I am here tonight for Joyce Phillips, Planning Manager. Joyce was the project lead. She led this plan through the entire process to the Planning Commission, the advisory boards. But unfortunately, she's out for a bit, recovering from some surgery, and so she asked me to pitch in. And so I'm pleased to be here tonight. And so this chapter is one component of Olympia's comprehensive plan update. And last week, the council formally accepted two chapters, accepted as the natural environment and the parks, arts, and recreation chapter. And tonight you have the capital facilities, goals and policies, and also the utilities chapter. So where I'm going is that we're making a lot of progress on our update. It's been a 3-year process. After this evening, you may have 4 accepted of the 12 chapters, and we have a couple more coming in the next few months. And so it's great to be here and be a part of that process. Ultimately, the entire plan is going to be brought to the City Council later this year by December for formal adoption. That gives the City Council a chance to do a final review for consistency, make any last revisions, and then make the final motion to adopt to meet the deadline, which is codified in state law of December of 2025. Oops, excuse me. So the capital facilities plan is in volume 2 of the comprehensive plan. And I think the first thing to really demark is what is a capital facility? And according to our plan, it's a structure, improvement, piece of equipment, or other major asset, including land that has useful life of at least 5 years. Examples include bike lanes, street and sidewalks, sanitary sewer systems, drinking water systems, government offices, and libraries. And those are just some of the examples. If you refer to the plan, there's actually a very long list of what's considered a capital facility. The capital facilities plan is amended annually. This is basically the projects with estimated costs and funding sources. The plan covers 20 years, but typically the funding component that we review each year, it covers 6 years. And so while the project information in the projects are updated annually, the goals and policies are actually updated just when the regular update occurs. And so it really has been no movement to update the goals and policies since 2014. The full set of the goals and policies are included in your packet. There are 4 goals, each with several consisting of policies and how the city intends to meet the goals. In this presentation, I'm going to focus on the proposed changes in the language. The language is consistent with what was brought before the City Council at your study session in April. So the public hearing draft was issued in mid-December of last year, approximately 3 months after the first draft was issued. The public hearing draft included revisions to address comments from the Planning Commission, from their initial briefing, the Utility Advisory Commission, and the Social Justice and Equity Commission. Only 2 comments from the public were submitted with the first draft. Staff did respond to those comments and invited the commenters to the public hearing where the draft was presented before the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission did hold their public hearing and no additional comments were received at that time. The full text of the proposed amendments are included in your packets, but there are 3 main themes with this update. The first is that there's better integration of environmental stewardship. The second is that it addresses climate change, both in the way we prioritize projects and as we plan for investments in projects with lifespans that can last for decades. And then finally, the plan ensures equity and accessibility and that it's incorporated into the city's capital facilities work. There is acknowledgement that at times the city may need to make strategic investments in order to accommodate our anticipated population growth, housing needs, and to be more resilient to the impacts of climate change. There's also language around ensuring we make investments in consideration of our other capital needs, and that we consider implications of capital investments on our operating expenses over the long term. The Social Justice and Equity Commission reviewed the first draft and offered suggestions to refine the language. Comments focused on addressing accessibility as very intentional in the plan, maintaining accessibility in the infrastructure like sidewalks, and striving to exceed state requirements when consistent with the city's values. The Planning Commission conducted their public hearing on January 27th, 2025. Again, there was no public testimony or written comments submitted at that time. After closing the public hearing and completing its deliberations, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended the proposed amendments. The Commission did include a statement in its recommendation letter that encourages our implementation and outreach continue to have strong commitment to equity in hearing from all community members, especially those who may be marginalized or have less opportunity to participate. The Land Use and Environment Committee reviewed the plan and was supportive of the proposed revisions, as well as the Planning Commission recommendation. A few additional revisions were suggested to strengthen language around equity, ensuring that climate considerations for capital facilities included city buildings, and expanding text about city actions that support affordable housing developments. Revisions to address the topics raised by the Land Use Committee, Land Use and Environment Committee were considered at the Council study session on April 15th and are included in the language before you this evening. And so that concludes my staff report. In conclusion, staff supports moving forward with this plan as acceptance and proposes the motion to move forward with that action. And with that, I stand ready for any questions.
Thank you, Tim. Any questions or comments for Tim? Councilmember Gilman.
So I've got questions around a couple of areas. One is, you had just mentioned in the last slide, the land use work to include city actions that support affordable housing projects. So there's now a series of references to accommodating 20-year future growth forecast, and it's phrased in different ways in different sections. And that's challenging language for me that I think for me there's always a tension of aiming the city staff and our incentive programs to build to forecasted growth is different from how I understand the Growth Management Act's intent to be able to accommodate growth. And so I'm challenged by those additions. And then there's just one little bullet point within one of those in 3.7, including the tax increment financing among the tools. I know we went around about that a few months ago, and maybe that's there, but those are the small edits that give me concern. So I just wanted to air that. And on the resolution itself, we had a conversation in finance last night about what is the meaning of adoption or final approval that comes in December. And in this resolution, it says that we accept the chapter tonight and that significant or substantive changes other than those that come out of climate action are not expected for this chapter. And I'm wondering what weight that has in terms of what sort of permission or latitude we have when this comes back in December or whenever it comes back for adoption.
Well, I think you do have latitude in December. You could make findings to make some additional changes. This is a resolution of acceptance, but final adoption would be your final formal action. And so if there are reasons to go back and make other changes, I believe you'd have that authority to do that. In responding to Land Use Environment Committee, I don't know if any of the members want to capture that conversation. I don't think it was at that
Councilmember
meeting.
Madron.
Yeah, Tim, let me just ask real quick. What we have before us tonight to vote on, is this the same that came to the study session
Yes.
previously? And were you at that study session? Okay, so I just, the way that the process is set up is to be able to catch any issues at the study session so that we can move it along smoothly from there. And of course, we always revisit things and maybe notice things we didn't see before, but are these concerns that you had at the time of the study session?
These are concerns I had before I joined council. We've had some conversations about multifamily tax exemption, tax increment, the Growth Management Act over several years.
I realize that, Clark. And so this came to us as a study session, and did you raise those concerns then with specific language in the CFP chapter? Because we've set up the process to try to prevent getting to this point.
I recognize that, and to be honest, I don't remember April, whatever the April date was, so.
Okay.
I can't answer that
All right.
question. Yeah.
Well, just as the study session was not the last bite of the apple, this is also not the last bite of the apple this evening. I'd be happy to sit down and work with you through this so that we can resolve it. And as these come forward in study sessions, just encourage everybody to look closely at the chapters so that we can have a smooth process that flows, as it's designed, so that we all have our full ability as council members to review everything, but also, try to have it move smoothly through, because we are operating on a timeline here. So, but I'd be happy to sit down with you and with Tim, who I assume is leading this until Joyce gets back, to work through your concerns and make sure that the full council is on board with the concerns that you have.
Thank you. Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. I think the way that you framed that, Councilmember Gilman, just makes me think I want to lift up to staff as we kind of crosswalk chapters to make sure that we are consistent with how we describe the growth into the future, and that it's not, that if you put them all together, it wouldn't look wonky or not like they were misaligned. So a little bit of what I heard, I don't think that's quite what you were saying, but I'd just like to ask staff to kind of read for that as we move through the more chapters.
Yes.
Additional comments? City Manager Bernie.
Yeah, I think Tim already answered this really, but I just want to reinforce that the reason we kind of bring acceptance then final approval is acceptance kind of tells staff, hey, we're kind of done with the heavy lift of this work, but we're going to bring them all back in the future. So you do still get another opportunity when they come for final approval. If there's any last modifications that need to get made, we can make them. We can have conversation along the way. But that's kind of why the process is the way it is around acceptance versus then final approval coming for you.
Councilmember Madron.
Yeah, I'll just make a request to Councilmember Gilman, whatever specific edits you'd like to see, if you can make sure that maybe send them even to the full council, and then I'm happy to chat with you about that. I just think at this point we should get very specific about any changes that we're proposing.
Fair enough. Okay. Any additional comments or questions? All right. Seeing none, I believe Councilmember Madrone, you have the motion.
Yeah, I move to approve a resolution accepting the goals and policies for the Capital Facilities Plan chapter of the Olympia 2045 Comprehensive Plan.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Tim.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So now, that takes us to item 6C on our agenda, which is acceptance of the utilities chapter of the Olympia 2045 Comprehensive Plan. And we have Susan Clark, Engineering and Planning Manager, as well as Ron Jones, our Program and Planning Supervisor, presenting tonight.
Where's that? All right. Good evening. For the record, again, I'm Susan Clark, Engineering and Planning Manager in the Public Works Department. And yes, I am joined here tonight by the co-lead in this project, Ron Jones.
Like Tim, this evening, Ron and I are here to seek acceptance of the utilities chapter, of the update of the comprehensive plan. Very quickly, we are going to walk through a few things. We'll go through what goes into a utilities chapter, how the utilities plan for growth, how we updated this chapter, and what has changed. As part of the update process, we did discuss climate goals and policies. However, you will hear more about those when the climate chapter comes before you. We actually have 13 new climate-related policies that are not in the document tonight. So again, you'll hear about those when the climate chapter comes before you. The utilities chapter covers all 4 City of Olympia utilities that are operated and managed by the Public Works Department. It also includes private utilities. I would like to point out at this time that Ron and I were not responsible for the outreach to the private utilities. Instead, I have Joyce Phillips to thank for that work. So again, thank you, Joyce. We didn't tackle that. The Growth Management Act requires utilities chapters to consist of the general location, proposed location, and capacity of utilities that operate within that jurisdiction. This inventory requirement for public entities is also part of the requirements for the capital facilities plan. The Growth Management Act also requires the Capital Facilities chapter to include a forecast of future needs and a 6-year plan for showing how those needs, how those new capital projects will be funded and developed over time. You heard about that a little bit from Tim. So each of the city's 4 utilities have master or management plans that we update every few years, every 5-6 years. Those management plans contain the detailed inventory and needs information required by the Growth Management Act. They also serve as our strategic direction, so they are more detailed than the comprehensive plan chapter. Through those management plans, we also make sure we are ready to serve new growth. In the case of the wastewater and drinking water utilities, we use computer models to review the capacity of our system to make sure we are prepared for that new growth. We took a creative approach to the chapter development. We used a subcommittee of the Utility Advisory Committee, or the UAC. They were our stakeholder group. For 5 months, we met with the subcommittee along with utility staff in addition to Ron and I. The public was invited to those subcommittee meetings, and the meeting results were posted to the Olympia 2045 Engage site. Through that update process, we created 3 different drafts. The first was the recommended draft coming out of the UAC, full UAC recommended. The second included changes that were recommended to us by the Planning Commission during their briefing. And then the chapter that's before you tonight was actually updated based on comments we heard at the December 3rd, 2024 council briefing. This is just my attempt to thank others. It wasn't just Ron and I, so some of the names of folks throughout the utilities that helped us. Whenever I do large projects like this, I always like to start with some project assumptions. That way, the end result equals those project assumptions. So at our first subcommittee meeting, a set of staff recommended assumptions were presented to the UAC, and the UAC agreed to those. Again, you already heard our master plans contain our detailed information. The comp plan is at higher level. Us utilities, we are in the service industry. We don't necessarily direct growth. We plan for growth in those management plans. And we also discussed the fact that from the staff perspective, we assumed minimal changes. We also talked about the fact that if we needed support for something new, some kind of new direction, we better include it in the comprehensive plan. Again, the capital facilities plan and the utilities chapter, they really work together. And we were only to address city-owned utilities since Joyce was tackling the private utilities for us. So some of the changes to the general goals and policies, those are the policies that apply to all 4 of our city-owned utilities, including things like making sure we are addressing the city climate goals. Of course, you'll hear about those in greater detail later. We also made some changes to address equity. We wanted to make sure that equity was being considered when we were making maintenance and capital decisions. We wanted to make sure outreach and engagement programs reach a diverse audience. We also added a policy to consider new or expanded rate assistance programs. We did add a new policy to stress the importance of long-term financial planning. And as a result of Planning Commission input, we did make some revisions, including to an existing policy to make sure that we are prioritizing capital projects that support infill development. On the drinking water side, the most significant change to the chapter is associated with a new policy stressing allowing cellular equipment at water properties only when security can be assured. The Department of Ecology, Department of Ecology has issued a total maximum daily load for Bud Inlet. Kind of simplistically, that's a water quality regulation. So we added a new policy on the wastewater side to make sure that we are prioritizing our septic to sewer conversion program in support of that new TMDL, essentially to make sure that we are removing septic systems in the areas of highest water quality concerns. The stormwater section of the utilities chapter had the greatest amount of changes. The mission of the stormwater utility is threefold. It's about preventing flooding, improving water quality, and protecting aquatic habitat. Prior to the update, the chapter primarily focused on addressing flooding. So we added new language to make sure all 3 areas are now covered, including the idea that all water, including stormwater, has value. We also moved some of the existing policies from the natural environment chapter, where that policy was directing the stormwater utility to take action. We also added a policy to stress that meeting water quality requirements under the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or MPDS permit. That's a shared city requirement, not just a requirement of the stormwater utility. We also made a couple changes in reaction to the Planning Commission, making sure that we strengthen some language addressing stormwater water quality retrofits. We also added a policy about implementing green stormwater infrastructure in support of climate goals. For the private utilities, the Puget Sound Energy asked that we revise a vision statement to recognize that coordinating with private utilities provides a community benefit. We are also asked to revise a policy to recognize that undergrounding lines doesn't always provide a benefit depending on location. We also added clarity to a compatibility between private utility infrastructure and other land uses, how that is actually accomplished, for example, through landscaping requirements. There's also inventory information in the private utilities section, so we made sure that that got updated. And now we're at the point where I get to turn this over to Ron. He has a couple slides to go through.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Mayor Payne, members of council. For the record, Ron Jones, Program Planning Supervisor in the Public Works Department, Waste Resources Utility. That is a mouthful. Thank you. So yeah, a couple slides here on the Waste Resources Utility. These are really kind of high level, so they were really refinements to the chapter. Again, as Susan mentioned, we were kind of trying to stay consistent without major changes necessarily needed. We made edits for clarity. We did change the name of our section within the element within the chapter from the moving towards zero waste, which is more of a slogan, to managing waste resources, garbage, recycling, organics. That was really to be consistent with the other sections in managing wastewater, drinking water. And then we also edited some of the language in there, but we have retained, we wanted to bring in a focus because we are a utility that provides both collection operations and waste education and outreach, at the same time retaining that vision of zero waste. So we still have that in there. We still believe, and we still have that paradigm shift that goes from the linear cradle to grave model of waste to the more circular cradle to cradle model. So we have retained that. We added in with edited in with the policies that dealing and addressing the utility's carbon footprint, so over the long term, as well as just the overall impact of solid waste on the environment. And then at the request of the Planning Commission, we did remove the keeping waste or managing waste as locally as possible. And a lot of that really comes to the fact that waste is kind of a natural thing to do. Planning Commission's really concern there was that we might look at cost versus the high benefits. So we might actually not go towards the best and highest use by keeping it local. We have a solid waste system that crosses borders, it crosses international borders to get the best and highest use of products. And so really in a lot of respects, we will always try to achieve that, but we don't want to, it wasn't essential to have that as a policy. And then reflecting back to the December 3rd council study session, provided staff with feedback, and in response, staff has made the following changes. So we've included a policy for pavement restoration requirements on private utility projects. We have also coordinated and asked our climate chapter authors to address the issue of siting a renewable energy facility in an urban environment. This was a concern for council. We've eliminated the municipal utility tax policy that was a recommendation from the Utility Advisory Committee. And we've added in 2 policies under the solid waste section, or the waste resources section, one for mandatory, working towards mandatory recycling and composting, as well as considering the banning of certain problematic packaging materials. I think I got them all. And with that, Susan and I would turn it over to council for discussion, questions, and we are seeking council acceptance of the utilities chapter tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the dais? Councilmember Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. Ron, I'm intrigued that LeMay is not mentioned as a commercial waste provider. And I know that's the section you said you didn't do, but they do a fair bit of solid waste work in our community. And I just wondered if if there's a reason for that, or was it just an oversight?
I would say that was just an oversight. I think it's not, I guess when we're thinking private utilities, they're typically like electric utility, those sorts of things, more like the infrastructure based. Whereas, just like our solid waste utility, while we're municipal, LeMay provides commercial recycling, commercial organics as an optional service if businesses require it. I would say that the work that we do with what we have in the chapter can encompass that to some extent. I mean, if we were to ban a material or if we were to require recycling, it could be, recycling commercially provided by LeMay Waste Connections as well. So,
the
yeah, more of
goals-
an oversight than, I guess it just was not on the radar
Okay.
to consider that.
Okay. Yeah, the goals read like they could apply to private providers, but if we move forward with acceptance tonight, will you bring back language in final adoption to, oh, Jay's got a hand up, maybe he's going to help me.
City Manager Bernie.
Yeah, I think Ron's onto it. I think the policies are meant to be all-encompassing, no matter who provides the service. And I think the reason we've stayed away from naming.
We do name everyone else.
Oh, we have. Yeah, that's right. We have. Yeah, you're right. Then I withdraw what I was going to say.
Okay. I'm just trying to think if we do an acceptance tonight, is it okay to do that with a condition that staff will update based on the discussion? Or
Yes.
do you want to wait?
I think if it's as simple as that, that's pretty easy for us to update.
Okay. Perfect. Because I think it's good. I think especially with the way you have created the document to read like our private utility providers are partners in our outcomes, and we need to consult them early on. It would be good to list that one as well. So,
Thank you. Yeah, we'll take a look at that.
Thank you. Councilmember Gilman.
First, thank you. I'm especially glad to see the green infrastructure mentions that they came through the environment chapter also. It's becoming a more accepted sort of normal thing to talk about and include. I'm really glad for that. I'm hoping for a little interpretation or guidance around the private utility, the goals 15 to 17, because the slide said that there was a mention of pavement restoration or of the continued priority, and I couldn't find it. Go, please.
Oh, may
Go.
I answer that?
Yeah.
Susan Clark, we made changes to the text, not to goals and policies in relation to the pavement. I think
Okay.
Ron misspoke as he was saying that.
Okay,
Yeah.
and then while I've got you, you also made a reference to accommodating PSE's letter, and I was having a hard time understanding beyond, there's a red line mark of adding whenever possible for the priority of undergrounding, and then there's a sentence that's not red line, but it's about where it's practicable. Is that the concessions that we made, or are there other changes in 16 about the priorities of undergrounding?
The policy 16 changed just to add the underline whenever possible. So the rest of the language was existing from last comprehensive plan chapter.
Wonderful, and
Yeah.
I also at the study session had brought that interest in making sure that pavement preservation was shouted out. That I think we want to simultaneously continue to ask for undergrounding and also to hold our ED standards for co-locating utilities wherever possible, coming in when we're already doing road work, and having a pretty high standard for pavement restoration or repair. So I'm glad it's all still reflected, and I wasn't sure if there were other edits that I missed about those, the concerns utilities had about that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any additional questions? I do, but it's actually more of like a comment, similar to what Councilmember Gilman was just sharing, related to PSC. So they have a recommendation around prescribing the amount of time that it would take to notify them when there is road construction. And I noticed as I was going through it that there aren't some of these things that they request of us, we have not done. So have we communicated why or why not? Which I'm asking this rhetorically because I know you said that Joyce was responsible for private utility, but I am wondering, have we circled back with them? Because a lot of the times we ask for people's input, and then when we don't do it, they're like, well, why'd you ask me for it? So I'm curious if we did follow up with them, because I noticed that we don't prescribe a time in the language that's here. And for me, I would imagine that we wouldn't do that because this is a 20-year document that is like forward thinking. And so Yeah, it's hard to put that kind of stuff in a document like this that's so specific and ties our hands. Yeah, if we could just find out if we have circled back with them, and I think that would be helpful, because we should provide some reasons for why we haven't included some of the additions that they recommend.
Okay.
And that's one of them. I think there's another one as well, but, all right. Any additional questions? Councilmember Madrone.
No more questions, just a compliment. You know, I've watched all of these chapters come forward, and I just, you know, utilities is one that's like, maybe not the most exciting, but the process that you all have led, along with Joyce, to reshape this chapter and get really good feedback on it, I just think you've done a really excellent job, so I just wanted to say that.
Thanks.
Ditto. Thank you. Additional questions or comments? All right, Councilmember Cooper has the motion.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. I move to approve a resolution accepting the utilities chapter of the Olympia 2045 comprehensive plan with the amendments to the private utility section that were discussed.
Second.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Okay, so that concludes our business items for tonight. Move on to council reports, and I'll start with a very brief mayor's report. I just want to again highlight to the community that I am incredibly proud of the way that we peacefully demonstrated our right to assemble this weekend on Capitol campus and here in the city. It was wonderful to see thousands of people expressing their voice and their passion for how they feel the current state of affairs is going, and we did so peacefully. And so I just want to thank every single community member that showed up, and I also want to thank our Olympia Police Department and the fire department as well for just your preparation and for being on standby for response, and we thank you for that. And I really just want to say that this weekend, it gave me a lot of hope to see so many people expressing their voices in solidarity for what we care about here, and not just in Olympia, but in Washington. So it was really great to see. And that's all I wanted to say tonight. So I'll start to my right with Councilmember Cooper. My left. Yes, thank you.
Somebody's right in this room, anyway.
I looked at Danny and my brain went right, and then
Which one does he mean? I'll make it easy. I'm also very proud of Olympia. It was really great to see us part of our community, be a part of what is now one of the largest movements in American history. And it's a proud moment to see everyone be so peaceful. So thank you. And I have nothing further to report.
Thank you. Councilmember Green.
Thank you, Mayor Payne. I have nothing to report.
Okay. Councilmember Gilman.
Finance Committee met last night, and we began with a check-in on the budget, which was really very similar to what we had just discussed on Friday at the retreat. And then we reviewed the economy chapter of the comprehensive plan, and sort of related to my comments in our discussion a few minutes ago, there were a list, sort of a laundry list of a variety of items that came up in the study session when we discussed the economy chapter, and staff managed to work each of those in. I was kind of fascinated, because I was curious whether that was a challenge for them or whether it pushed on the integrity of the document, and they worked that through. So we recommended that the economy chapter come to council, so it's on its way. And then we had most of the evening a discussion on the whether to issue debt for Yelm Highway Community Park Phase 1 and the Armory Arts Center Phase 1. And those, that's still in the works. We recommended that a full funding proposal come, and staff's going to continue to refine that and talk to us about it before it comes to council for a decision. But there was support across the committee for moving forward with both the Yelm Highway Phase 1 and the Armory Center Phase 1. That was a good evening. I went and played ukulele afterwards because we got out at a decent time. That was even better. And then this morning was the South Sound Quarterly Consultation for Refugee and Immigrant Resettlement. And there was a lot more hope, and it was the largest. It was 4 screens full of Zoom people from a variety of organizations and agencies, the largest turnout that we've had since we began this journey with World Relief here, and the most hopeful conversation. Our gesture of using goal money to help the refugees who had just arrived here, the legislature went way beyond that and brought in, I've got the number down here, it's like $12 million additional dollars for statewide for carrying through the refugees who were essentially stranded by the federal program being turned off. So that has allowed many of the nonprofits who are coordinating language work, helping people get into school, housing, to allow those people to continue facilitating those services. And I'll just leave you with, there was an interesting an academic study about the impact of refugees on our communities, because there's some concern that we're heavily subsidizing these people. And within, let's see, how many years? They were from 2019 to 2024. So over 5 years, it was like a 10-time repayment, not in general benefit to the community, but specifically in state, local, and federal tax payments that the cash assistance that was offered in those first 90 days was repaid many times over in taxes. So anyhow, a really positive meeting. And one other thing I'll report is World Relief, when there weren't more people coming to our Olympia area, they decided to circle back to all of the people who they've worked with since the program began and do 2-hour check-ins with each family to navigate services, see what their needs are, and that has been really successful, and it's also creating more partnerships with other nonprofits in the community to deliver services that people are asking for. So it was a super encouraging meeting this morning.
Any questions or comments for Councilmember Gilman? Those funds for World Relief, that was an easy yes, and I'm still running into people who are thanking us for doing that. So it's really left an impact. Thank you again for bringing it to us, and glad to hear that the state's doing more. Councilmember Madrone.
Nothing to report.
Wow. Yeah. City Manager Bernie.
I was going to say I have 17 items, but I have nothing to report.
All right. Well, with no further business before the Olympia City Council, we're adjourned.